Welcome, everyone. I'm Angèle Bénard, National Director of Family Services with the Huntington Society of Canada. I'm pleased to introduce you back to our conference from our break and to introduce to you the members of our Community Services panel. First, I'd like to introduce Bev Farrell, who's worked in the field of therapeutic recreation for over 34 years. Most of her career has been at Parkwood Hospital of the St. Joseph Healthcare in London, where she's recently retired. She has also been a group facilitator with the Huntington Society of Canada for over 25 years. She now spends her time playing with her 5 grandchildren, enjoying time at her cottage in Bayfield, and hopes to travel more once the world opens up a little more. I would also like to introduce Rosalind Irvine. She's a speech-language pathologist based at the West Park Healthcare Centre in Toronto. Rosalind specializes in the area of augmentative and alternative communications, also known as AAC. Rosalind has collaborated with individuals with Huntington disease, their families, and caregivers to identify ways to support communication when speaking and writing become difficult. AAC focuses on developing the skills of communication and for partners and building opportunities for meaningful communication and to help maintain relationships and enable the person with HD to have control over the decisions that are important to them. Finally, I'm pleased to introduce Sheri Mayhew. Sheri is HSC's Resource Center Director for Eastern Ontario, and she will be talking about the role of a social worker within the community setting. A social worker can help families learn about what is available and facilitate access to those community services. This panel will be sharing valuable information about some of the different services those affected by HD can access in community. Please note that these are but a few of the possible community services that are available. I would encourage you to connect with your HSC social worker to learn about what other options are available in your area. So today, each panel member will discuss their specialty and the ways in which their roles can assist the HD community. And then after they've done their presentations, we'll have a question and answer session. So please be sure to enter your questions in the questions tab on the right-hand side. Also, they've also generously provided their handouts for you to download, and those can be found under the Files tab on the right-hand side as well. And without further ado, I am pleased to pass it over to Bev to get us started, then Roz, and then finally to Sheri to wrap it up. Bev, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Angèle. I just took a moment to unmute. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us. And today I'm talking a little bit about therapeutic recreation, which isn't a very known field. We came about during World War II when the veterans were coming back from war and they needed to find some meaningful activities to engage in. I do have a much bigger presentation in the file folder that has a lot more resources because I'm really limited to the amount of time I have today. So let me just start off. So therapeutic recreation looks at our leisure, and we all live for our leisure, don't we? We promote healing, skill development, knowledge, awareness, and resources, what's available in the community for people of all ages and abilities and health conditions, etc. So, and I just want to mention that plug for us, this is Therapeutic Recreation Month, the month of February. So any therapeutic recreation specialists out there, happy TR month. So our leisure to us individually is very personal, and for what one person, Angèle, we were just having a discussion with a group before we came on about ice fishing, and I tried it. No, it's not for me, but for somebody, it may be the ideal leisure pursuit for them. But our leisure covers all the dimensions of wellness. So some of the dimensions include physical, intellectual, social, emotional, and spiritual. So I'm just going to touch on some of those things. In the handouts, you'll find out specific examples for you. I'm going to talk quickly about physical, because this is the some of the guidelines for people at risk. There's not a lot of research, unfortunately, about this, but this is very similar to the Canadian Society for Exercise Physiology, that we should be doing aerobic exercise 3 to 5 times a week. If you have HD, things like walking, water exercise, recumbent bikes are good. I had a client that I worked with for a number of years that came in the water with me. I had a specialized pool program, and she was able to do water walking very successfully for a number of years. And the water was supportive for her. She didn't have to worry about falling and hurting herself. And it was really beneficial. Flexibility exercises such as stretching, yoga, there's seated yoga, modified classes available, and resistance training is recommended 2 to 3 times a week. And as well, balance. The Taoist Tai Chi Society offers these specialized classes for people with disabilities. So that might be something in your area that you look at. But balance, we know, is important, but can be very challenging. I just want to touch on some of the intellectual benefits of engaging in leisure. It's good for our brains. We all need it, whether you have HD or not. I know that that's something I enjoy doing, is learning something new or trying, puzzles, or everybody's into this world now is the big thing, but exercising our brains are really important. We're social beings, and this has been a really tough couple of years because that social contact is really lacking, and virtual chats and phone calls are a good way to connect with people right now, but we know that there's a lot of health benefits, and that's one of the things therapeutic recreation can help with. We look at the emotional side as when we're engaging in leisure. It's a good outlet for us to have laugh, to express, get rid of our stress and any anger that we have. When you're, playing a game of something, it can be that healthy competition that we all need. And also the spiritual connectedness. And there's a lot of research on that mindfulness and meditation now. I know Dr. Vazadev here in London, Ontario, he's a psychiatrist, and he works with our HD community as well. He is doing tons of research on the benefits of mindfulness and meditation. So it's nice that they're looking at that wholeness, that wellness approach. A lot of people with HD have many barriers to leisure, and we all do in our lives, but some, it may be not knowing their community or what they can engage in or who can support them when they're being engaged. And that's where therapeutic recreation can come in as well. At the very end of the slide deck, I have some resources on where you can find therapeutic recreation within your community. We're in different settings, rehab settings, community settings. There's private therapeutic recreation services available as well. So some are for fees and some are covered under our healthcare benefits. I'm going to show some assistive devices for leisure, and I'm just cognizant of the time. So because it may be difficult to do the activities that you enjoy doing at one time, there's a lot of these assisted devices. Now, some of these things are more mainstream now, or Amazon is a great resource. Not that I'm getting paid by Amazon to promoting them, but to find some of these devices. So this is an example of a card shuffler. It makes it easy if you can't shuffle the cards anymore and you love playing those games, whether it's euchre or Go Fish, whatever it is you like. These are different card holders as well. So sometimes holding cards can be difficult. So the card holders, there's various styles that you can get and types to make it much easier to hold on to cards. Again, if you see, there's a little cube on the lower right. If you can see that picture, it shows hearts, clubs. So if you're playing, for example, a game like euchre, it helps you to remember what's trump. I need this when I play because I'm always saying, hey, what's trump? What's going on? So this helps the individual. So if they're struggling with some memory issues. Computer technology, well, we're really fortunate that the Americans with Disabilities Act has made it mandatory that every computer that you use, for example, a laptop I'm on right now, has so many assistive devices built in for people to make it easier, and that's due to the Americans with Disabilities Act. But there's also other specialized computer mouse that you can use if you like using the computer but find motor skills using the scrolling, etc. I just want to mention there are occupational therapists as well that can help with some of these things. A lot of OTs are trained in that leisure component, and we work very closely. There are colleagues or team members. We use large dice. This is something when I facilitate my group that we've used. We've played Yahtzee with these, and it makes it very easy to use. These are different modified games. These have recesses, little squares that go in, and they keep the pieces from getting knocked over. So these are very great games to have. This one has a turntable with a Lazy Susan in. Like I said, I've got a lot more of these slides available in the handout that you'll find in the files section. These are very large checkers. We've used these as well with my group because they're nice. They're easy to manipulate. There's also a magnetic dartboard. So if you're worried about hurting yourself or impaling somebody else, but you love throwing darts, this is a really great dartboard that we use. And again, I've used that with our clients as well. And I apologize if I'm going through this really quickly, but if you have any questions at the end, I'd be more than happy to answer. It's a great Canadian game, and we use this with our HD clients. That's a little pool cue that's used for the game. It's sometimes very difficult to flick the pieces across the board. We also use what's something called a daisy player or audiobooks. You know, if it's difficult to hold the book to read or to focus on the line as you're scrolling through, these are some devices that, and there's some links on how they work. But this is a daisy player that we use at Parkwood Hospital quite a bit for individuals. Again, there's modified even bingo cards, if that's something that you like. There's bingo cards that are in sequential order, or things that you don't have to, they're easy to slide across, that you don't have to worry about knocking pieces. There's magnetic games. They came out as travel games at one time, but these magnetic games are really great because, you know, with the dyskinesia, you don't have to worry if you're knocking pieces off the board. The magnets are quite strong and hold on really well. There's Montessori type of activities. If any of you are familiar with the Montessori program, they have quite a lot of the Montessori is geared for people with Alzheimer's, but it can benefit other people as well. These are some examples of like twiddle muffs, some sensory stimulation items that Montessori provides. This is a really cool device, knitting needle holder. If you're having difficulty holding knitting needles, it'll hold the needle for you using a simple clamp. We also have many vices that hold on to things that create another hand for you. So if you're doing woodworking or painting or even sewing, it can hold an embroidery hoop even. These they've got ball joints on them, they rotate, they're very simple. This one showing has like a vacuum seal, so it'll go on any tabletop at all. It's a great device. There's various hand grips, and a lot of these things you can even find some of the stuff at the dollar stores now, which make it really affordable for everybody. At one time, these medical supply labels that were given to them, they charge ridiculous prices for some of these items, but now we find them a lot more available kind of in mainstream stores, which is really great. Golf, Parkwood, we started a golf program over 25 years ago, and we have a golf league and tournaments and clinics on, and anybody can golf. We've had HD clients golf with us. You can do it from a seated position, you can do it standing, we can put special grips on the clubs. We can also secure your hand to the club so it doesn't go flying away on you. And there's modified golf carts that you can sit on and golf right off of. It's amazing the stuff that's out there. Bowling, most bowling alleys have these ramps now available, and they have also the gutter guards, so it allows people to bowl in a safer fashion. They can sit, they can push the ball down. So it's they have it due for $5. I don't know if there's as many 5-pin bowling leagues or lanes around these days, but definitely for 5 or 10 pin it is available. We're lucky at Parkwood, we have a 5-pin bowling alley right in our facility. So these are a couple of games that I've been using with my clients, and This is the one in the middle is a soft bocce game, and it's very popular and it's so much fun, and it's really easy to play. Lots of competition there. And then on the left, you can see an indoor curling set. And again, this is something I've done with my clients. It makes it really easy. Another game is pool noodle hockey. That's a fun indoor game. So there's a lot of things people can engage in, and these are available again right through the internet. You can purchase some of these items. This is a fishing harness, as I talked about ice fishing. If you are having difficulty holding a fishing rod and that's an activity that you really want to continue to do, this is an item here. And I'm just cognizant of time. If you like to play billiards, for example, and are worried about ripping the felt, this is a really simple device that you could probably even make at home if you know somebody who's a handy woodworker. There's modified Tai Chi, as I mentioned before. The Taoist Tai Chi Society has lots of programs throughout for people with various disabilities. There's different options for cycling. One of our clients has a 3-wheeled tricycle and loves it, and she bikes all over the place. There's also the duet bicycle, and there's a program out now that's in many communities called Cycling Without Age. And if you go on the YouTube, you can look up with Cycling Without Age, and it's a fantastic program. There's also a lot of gardening equipment out there to make it so much easier for people to garden. This is a seat or a kneeler, depending on the way you use it. There's lightweight garden tools that are very easy to hold. There's raised bed gardenings that you can use, so it's a little higher and more accessible. And then there's different ergonomic tools or tools that have the cuffs that stay on your hand so you don't drop the equipment as you're gardening, because gardening is so beneficial for us. There's so much research on the benefits. Just being outdoors is fabulous, and touching the soil and being part of the maintain site. Single leisure device that's known. It's called Able Data. And if you go onto that link, and you can just there's a search engine, you can put in, let's say you want to know about accessible things for a swimming pool. You just put in swimming pool or pool, and it'll show all the devices that are available. And it's kept up to date. It's a really valuable device or valuable website. So in conclusion, I know this has been really quick. I've been going through all this, but I just want to say you got to find what's meaningful and important. And you feel independence, and there's so many ways of modifying your activities so you can still enjoy the things that you love doing. Getting outdoors, connecting with others, finding new things, because sometimes if you can't do something that you've always loved the same way, finding something new to do is really beneficial, because you're not comparing yourself to the way you used to do things. Hopefully that makes sense. So again, I mentioned these are places that you can find us. There's the Canadian Therapeutic Recreation Association in Ontario. We have Therapeutic Recreation Ontario, and it's got links to local practitioners. There's also some international and American associations as well. I understand we have people from around the world today, so these are just a few of that. So that's a quick run through of my presentation. Like I said, the slide deck that I've included in the files is a lot more extensive. It shows a lot more equipment, and also some ideas and suggestions that you might want to try. So thank you very much for my quick run through. Hopefully I was able to give you some ideas or a few things. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Bev. So Angèle, you are going to share my slides. So as Angèle said while she's setting up, I'm a speech pathologist working in Toronto in a clinic called an AAC clinic. So I'm going to talk to you about the services that speech language pathologists can provide for people with HD and their families. I don't see my slides yet, but are they up? No. Do you want me to share, Angèle? Okay, I will start sharing. Oops. Oh, it's going to get me to go through all my slides. Just 1 second.
If you're still encountering problems,
No, I think, let's see if this will work.
okay.
Oh, that's not what you want. Stop sharing. 1 second. Actually, I wonder if I can share my screen. That might work.
Yeah.
No, that won't work.
So, Rosa, maybe if you want to start talking, I can figure out the slides on my end. And if you want to start introducing a little bit about what you do, and then I'll pop
I
the
think
slides.
I've got it.
There we go. All right.
Excellent. So now I just have to work out how to advance them. So that will be the next thing. Okay. Can you still see me, Angel?
I see you and I see your slides.
Okay. So if I do this, maybe this will help. Okay. So speech pathologists or SLP services fall into two main areas: communication and swallowing, or what we call dysphagia. So for communication services, generally people are looking for speech therapy to compensate for the changes they're experiencing in their speech clarity, or communication supports, whether that be various tools or strategies that people can use if speech or writing are really not functional either some of the time or all of the time. In terms of dysphagia, speech pathologists can assess someone's ability to swallow liquids and solids, either in what we call a clinical evaluation, which is generally at someone's home or at bedside, or using instrumentation. And I've put some examples here of different studies using scopes and x-rays and those kinds of things. And then the SLP would be looking at techniques to manage the difficulties that the person's having with eating and drinking, with the goal of helping them maintain quality of life, maintaining a safe and healthy weight, and doing that safely. Angel, I'm just going to check because I'm only seeing my first slide on the screen. Do you see me advancing the slides?
I don't see that yet.
So I'm not sure how to do that. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I do.
There you are. You got it.
Yay. Okay. Good. Sorry, everybody. A little bit of technical difficulty here. So SLP services differ right across Canada, and each province will have its own service model. And I'm only really familiar with the service models in Ontario. But each province will have government-funded, community-based SLP services. And these are generally limited in what they can provide in terms of number of sessions that the person is eligible for. But the goal would be to assess and then provide strategies to the client or their carers and family. There are also private SLP services where you can refer yourself and there's no limitation in the number of sessions you can have. Of course, they are usually more expensive, but many health insurance companies do provide some benefits. And then in larger regional centres, you'll find specialty clinics. Most provinces have specialised AAC clinics, such as the one I work in, and generally self-referral is an option for those, sometimes requiring a doctor's referral. And then again, bigger centres often have hospital-based clinics that are specialising in the management of swallowing issues. And certainly connecting with your HDS social worker would help you connect with those services. I'm going to actually focus on the area of communication supports. That's the area that I work in and know best. rather than the other areas. But I'm happy to try and answer questions later if you have them. So communication supports are often called AAC, and there can be a combination of communication strategies or techniques that the partner uses, gestures, signing, body language, facial expressions that are used by the person who's having difficulty communicating, use of communication charts, letterboards, rating scales, things like that, or technology such as tablets or specialized speech devices. And our experience is that most people use a combination of tools, and these change throughout the progression of an illness. There's certainly not, or there's no one size fits all. I've put some examples here just to give you an idea of some of the things I'm talking about. So some tools are paper-based. So you can see here a tool on the left, my left anyway, is called a talking mat, which is helpful for people who are struggling to really participate in some discussions of problem solving of more complex issues, and they need that visual support to help them follow what is going on in the discussion. There's a simple rating scale on the top right. On the bottom left is a gentleman using a tablet to communicate, and on the bottom right, someone is using a paper-based spelling display to communicate. And we'll talk a little bit more about that a little later. So in terms of the challenges specific to people with HD, because of the difficulties with movement, with emotion, and with thinking, there are such a range of difficulties that can result in communication disabilities. Speech can become hard to understand or very effortful to produce. And unfortunately, tools that you might automatically go to, like using pen and paper to write or using your phone or your tablet to send a text, can become difficult because of the physical challenges with using hands and holding things with your hands. Very often the person with HD, it's hard for them to be motivated to communicate because it is so difficult, and they're feeling either very depressed about their situation or feeling very frustrated with what's going on. They often have difficulty even initiating or starting a conversation, and often are resistant to using some of the supports that might be helpful for them. And then we know that with the difficulties with thinking, it takes a lot more time for most people to process information and respond. And as communication partners, we have to accommodate that and give people lots of time to communicate and to think through what they want to say. Often there's lots of memory issues or difficulty finding the words that they want to say, difficulty learning new skills. And so as we want to introduce tools, it's actually harder for people to use them. However, despite all of those challenges, we know that by putting some supports in place, communication can be successful. And that is really what we're looking for, is to adapt to the changes for HD and to make people feel that they still have some control, some ability to make decisions, and some quality of life and relationships with those who are important to them. So I've got this graphic here to really emphasize that the foundation of the foundation for creating successful communication comes from the partner initially. So partner support is really crucial, and particularly as HD progresses, because partners need to learn new ways of interacting with the person who has HD, but not take away the control from that person as you start to put more support in place. So it's really a bit of a dance to learn how to be supportive but flexible. Things change from day to day and from as time progresses. The partner also needs to advocate for the person's right to communicate and their ability to communicate, to help train new caregivers, for example, and to make sure the person's wishes and preferences are heard. And then when talking to the person with HD themselves, I feel like there's a real need to validate for them that their voice is important. And I find myself often saying, it is important to me to know what you want to say. And if we can try using this tool or this spelling board or whatever it might be, it will help me to understand what you need and really help them understand that their voice is important. The next level up is a reason to communicate, and we all need meaningful and personally relevant reasons to communicate. And this is even more the case if you're already feeling that it's frustrating or you're lacking motivation to communicate. So I've broken up the reasons for communication here into 3 broad categories: sharing information with others, maintaining social relationships, and expressing opinions and choices. And I think I'll give you some examples in the next few slides, but certainly the middle category, maintaining social relationships, is really important not only for the person with HD, but for their family and friends and carers, to make sure that they feel that same, or as close to as they can, that same sense of closeness and having a relationship with that person as communication changes. Because unfortunately, the speech difficulties that come with HD really change the dynamics of conversation, and a new balance has to be found in that conversation. And the final level at the top, I don't know why the slide looks like that, but is communication methods. So I'm going to just spend the last few minutes talking a little bit about some of the strategies and tools that you can use when you're trying to improve communication as somebody with HD, or when you're communicating with someone with HD. Being able to express yes and no is really important, even if speech is difficult to understand. If questions are phrased in such a way that you can just use a simple yes or no answer, or even make a choice between 1 or 2 options, that's going to allow you to still have, to participate in care, to participate in decisions. So for some people, as simple as a thumbs up, thumbs down can really help. Even if the movements have become uncoordinated, you can often still see the difference between a thumbs up and thumbs down. I sometimes find too, using eye movements, so having options that people need to choose between and asking them to look at which one that they want, can be a very easy, not requiring very much effort way for the person to make a choice. And as the partner, you can move your hands apart or move them up or down to really help the person make that choice as easily as they can. We've been finding, particularly with COVID and people having to go to hospital without family or carers around, that having what we call an emergency passport can be really helpful. And it's just something you can grab all together in a bag or in a file when that person has to go to the hospital, that contains important medical information, what communication supports they might need in place, what are specific preferences that can make them feel comfortable and safe in a hospital environment. I'm also going to speak just very briefly about a spelling board, which is often a tool that people think of first, or using spelling on your phone or your tablet to help people understand what you're saying. I feel my experience has been that often speech is still faster, even if it's quite unclear. But if the person can indicate the first letter or 2 of a word they're trying to say, it can really help you narrow down the context of what someone's saying. And as Bev had said, with modern technology, many phones and tablets have lots of accommodations built into them in their accessibility features, which can help people who have difficulty with physical movement control their phones and their tablets. In terms of maintaining social relationships, I think this is something that perhaps the tools are not so helpful for, because social relationships are not predictable. I want this, I want that, I don't like this, I do like that, I need this medication. They're very fluid. And what we find is a lot of the technology that we all use every day is really important to keep in mind for people with HD. So making sure they can use video calling to keep in contact with people, using photos of people or of events as memory supports. And I think this sort of dovetails with what Bev was saying. Maintaining social relationships is not all about talking. It's about spending time together. And so finding ways that you can be spending time with your family or with the person who has HD in fun, meaningful, satisfying interactions that you can then be talking about afterwards is really important for maintaining those social relationships. And finally, expressing opinions and choices. I talked a little bit earlier about choosing with just a couple of options. I think when discussions are about information that's a little bit more complex, something like that talking mat I showed, which has visual supports that the person can really keep track of the conversation, is really helpful. And thinking about the memory difficulties and how long conversations can take, the more visual supports you can have in place to help the person really understand what the topic is, remember what the topic is, and manipulate or move those visual things around rather than doing it all with their speech, which is so effortful and tiring, can be really helpful. I've gone way over time, but I just want to add that on the HDS website and other websites, you will find many, many more strategies that you can use to support communication as someone with HD or as someone supporting that person. And I'm going to pass it on to Sheri.
Great, thank you so much. Just pulling out my slide deck here. Great. So hello, everyone from across Canada and internationally. I'd love to see all of you. Welcome to your Community Services panel. Thank you, Bev and Rosalind, for joining me today in our panel. We do make a really great team. My name is Sheri Mayhew, and my role within the Huntington Society of Canada is as a Resource Centre Director of Eastern Ontario and of Kingston and Belleville areas. I'll be addressing the following topics during my brief presentation today. I'll explain what our Family Services program is, and I'll also be exploring how we support individuals and families through collaborating with resources. I'll also explain what an RCD is, as well as an FSW, and how we can support you. Of course, at the end, there'll be time for some questions. Family is at the heart of our community, and we strive to maximize quality of life and assist with meeting urgent needs. So this being said, who is part of the Family Services team? Well, the Family Services team consists of 23 professionals here to support you. We have 14 Resource Center Directors, 4 Family Service Workers, 1 Group Facilitator, and a Youth Mentorship Coordinator. We also have a National Social Worker and Youth Mentorship Coach, as well as a National Director and a National Educator. What a fantastic team. The 23 of us are located throughout Canada. I am one of the 15 Resource Center Directors and one of the 7 supports within Ontario. In essence, I'm at one of those little red dots that you see on the screen. As a Resource Center Director, my role is to provide a range of services within a larger geographic region, including highly populated areas. Therefore, my catchment area is, which includes Eastern Ontario, from Hawkesbury to Cornwall, Barry's Bay to Ottawa, Smith Falls to Kingston, and Belleville, inclusive pretty much of all the areas east of Deep River. Family Services Workers are my colleagues and are available to provide priority services within a specific geographical area. There is a Family Service Worker in Windsor, and there are 3 throughout British Columbia. So what do we offer through our Family Services team? The Family Services team can support you through direct support services, available for persons with HD, persons at risk, persons who are gene positive, caregivers, family members, community members, friends, neighbors, and professionals. We provide education and information about the nature and progression of HD and care strategies. We provide education and support to health, community service, and community workers involved in the care of a HD family member. Our support extends to staff at hospitals, mental health centers, long-term care facilities, home care staff, counselors, physicians, and other health and social service workers. We also work with local community support groups and agencies, such as lawyers, police, staff involved in the justice system. Why? Because we all participate in care efforts. We also provide short-term counseling, available to address emotional and practical adjustments to the change one may experience while living with HD. We offer resource counseling and referrals because we have a wealth of information to share. We offer individual advocacy where our support is available to support others to ensure that they gain access to necessary services. We offer mutual support through a variety of support groups and virtual drop-ins, for example, since we've kind of course corrected for the pandemic. We believe in partnerships and collaboration, and so we work with HD clinics, movement disorder clinics, and genetic clinics to enhance our service delivery. We're also involved in community development, national advocacy, and systemic change efforts. Our family services team, comprised of registered social workers and mental health and community professionals, help you to gain the valuable information and supports you need as a person with HD who may be at risk, or as a support to someone with HD. We have a variety of resources available for you on our website at www.huntingtonsociety.ca. Our resources include our newsletter, e-blasts, fact sheets, brochure, guides, and announcements. I encourage you all to check this out. For those of you who may or may not be familiar with all of our resources on our website, these resources can be accessed by going to the Learn About HD title on the toolbar on our website and scrolling through all of the resources that are available, which includes definitions. They could be brochures, fact sheets, and publications. Should you wish to have a summary of this presentation, we too have a fact sheet for that. If again, you go to the top, the toolbar about our resources, and you scroll down under the fact sheet title, this presentation can also be downloaded as a We Are Here to Help brochure. We are all here to help. To connect with us, again, go to www.huntingtonsociety.ca, and you can indicate where you are located throughout Canada by using that interactive map or scrolling through all of our contacts. If you're located in Eastern Ontario, it would be my pleasure to connect with you, and this is my information. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheri. Thank you, Bev. And thank you, Rosalind. I really appreciate the time you've put into bringing us through presentations and sharing this extremely useful information. I know that we've been having a couple of tech issues over the last few minutes. I know that IT is looking into it. So if you did miss part of any of the sessions, recorded, and they will be made available to you once the recordings are released. And as I mentioned earlier, the files are also available for download under the Files tabs. And so you'll have everyone's presentation available to you as well. We really appreciate how you've highlighted the relevance of these services to individuals and families facing HD. Unfortunately, we have run out of time for our session today. It is 4 o'clock, so that brings us to the end of our formal scheduled sessions today. But the fun isn't over yet. We have some themed breakout rooms that are open, so everyone can catch up with old friends or meet with some new ones. So please join a room on a topic that interests you. And remember that these rooms are meant to be an opportunity to connect beyond our commonalities of HD and have some friendly and light conversations. I hope that you enjoy the time there. I hope you have a wonderful night. And we will be back here at 12 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow and to kick off the next portion of our conference. Have a good evening, everyone, and take care. Bye-bye.